Global Church family. Welcome back to the ongoing conversation about international missions at Fellowship Bible Church, where you get a front row seat to hear what God is continually doing to establish his church around the world. My name is Emma Kate, and I'm your host for the day. And we are joined by Scott McManigle and Ray Matthews to discuss Global Church Week. So thank you guys so much for being here. So Ray, I'll go ahead and have you introduce yourself. This is your first time on the Global Missions podcast, so share a little bit.
Well, I'm new to Fellowship. We started coming in August, and the first time we came, we followed up with membership interest and signed up to host one of the missionary families for the Global Missions Week. I'm originally from North Carolina. My wife, Teresa's from South Carolina. We've been up in the D.C., Northern Virginia area since 95, and we moved out here to the Valley in about 3.5 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm raised in the church.
Okay.
Musical family, and love the Lord, and have a heart for missions. That was one of the things we were looking for in a new church home out here.
Yeah.
And very impressed with the work that you're doing, and glad to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, we're glad for you. And I mean, I think clearly the fact that you start coming to the church and then it's like, oh, Global Church Week. Yeah, we'll host people, like just ready to jump right in. And that's so
that
cool.
was awesome.
Yeah.
So,
and then Scott, how are you doing?
Good. Yeah.
Good? Yeah. It's the end of the year.
Right.
So getting ready for another year of travel coming up here soon.
Yeah. We were just on a Zoom meeting yesterday morning, actually. Jim and Joshua Yakubu and I just laying plans for Africa.
Okay.
This coming year. So yeah,
awesome.
A lot of trips.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's dive right into it. So for our audience, we actually recorded this episode a couple months ago, but due to technical errors, it just didn't work. And so we're back doing it again. But we really wanted to talk about Global Church Week because I know that was so impactful for me. It was impactful for you guys. And so let's just talk about it. So Scott, I'll come your way first. And just can you talk about what is the purpose of Global Church Week? Why do we do this?
Yeah, we really have a threefold purpose in doing it. The first thing is just, God is just doing such great work, all around the world. And, in and through the lives of our global partners and just the privilege that he gives us to be a part of it. And we just really want to have the opportunity as a body to just praise and worship him together as a body for just what he's doing and what he's allowing us to be a part of. The second purpose would be really for the encouragement of our body to bring as many global partners here to FBC as we can, for them to share, for people to hear firsthand some of those testimonies and stories, great things that God's doing in and through their churches. We just really hope is a tremendous encouragement to the body. And then for our global partners to be able to come together, from many different countries, different cultures, different works. All of them are from a different context, different context of ministry. Some are they're part of a team that is on the same page. And then there's others who are very much working alone. And when you're moving from a works-based, what I would say is a kind of a typical view of Christianity, works-based, legalistic, to grace and centered in the finished work of Christ. Sometimes you really feel alone, in that. And so for them to be able to come together from different countries, different cultures, but all, sharing in their value and appreciation for grace and the finished work of Christ, it's just super encouraging, and for them to be together and to be able to see that, that they're a part of really a global family that God is bringing along and centering in Christ. And so it's those are kind of the threefold reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's incredible. And so important. And so, Ray, as you're hearing this, like, how did that, because did you understand those reasons when you were first hearing about Global Church Week and hosting a family, or you were just like, yes, it's missions. We want to be involved in this new church. So walk me through your thought processes there.
No, we really did not understand the specific focus of the missions effort here at Fellowship. And yes, I just wanted to be a part of what it was that you're doing here. It was encouraging to me that you took the time out, not only to set the time apart, to bring people together, and also to the amount of integration, participation of the rest of the church in that was very encouraging to me. I think as a new believer, when you're a new believer, the focus is on yourself, what God has done for you. It's very much centered on yourself, and then as you grow and mature, you understand that God didn't save you to be the Dead Sea, just to be the receptacle of blessing, but that there's a purpose, that God is on mission, that God has a purpose of redemption, to redeem his creation, to receive the worship that he deserves from his creation. And we all have a part to play in that. And so I think as you grow and mature, you see that there's a lot more about your life than just to receive blessing. You're blessed to be a blessing is the thing that we say in our house a lot. We're blessed to be a blessing, and to be hands and feet. So going back to Global Church Week, it was just during the week and the things that we heard and private conversations I had with people during the week, and hosting our missionary family that I saw kind of like the things that Scott was talking about, the focus, and it was very encouraging. You could see that the mission partners were coming together. They knew each other. Yeah. They talked about going to each other's countries of effort and participating in different things, and so there's a lot of cross-pollination and participation from the different partners. So,
yeah, I love what you said, because I think that week is just so encouraging, because it can be so easy, like you were saying, to just think about what God's doing in your own life or in your own church. And then we have everyone come here and we get to see how God is moving all across the world. And it's just so amazing. And it really speaks to like the magnitude of God and his sovereignty and all of that. And I think let's talk a little bit about logistics, because you mentioned the integration of the global church partners. And so, Scott, can you kind of talk about how we basically fuse like Body Life with our global church partners in that time that we're here? They're here.
Yeah. So back in 2015, we made a change in how we carry out the Global Church Week. It used to be they would come over a weekend, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. Monday morning, we'd whisk them off to Harrisonburg, to Massanetta Springs, for a week-long retreat. And we'd be there till Friday morning and then bring them all back here to FBC. And then they would be here for that weekend. And that was the extent of their time here at FBC, just over that weekend. Back then, there was usually a banquet Friday night, and then probably like a men's meeting and a women's meeting Saturday morning. Back then, I don't think we had FSAT yet. Not sure. But then, the weekend services, and then everybody would leave Monday.
Right.
And so, the missions committee got to interact with all of them while they were here, but really not a whole lot of the body. And so in 2015, we decided to, you know, our main purpose in holding a conference here in the States or in Winchester is really more for our body. You know, if it was more for the global partners, we should be having this conference in their areas, in their regions, where we would be able to get more of their church leaders together. Many of them can't get visas to come here. So if we're having it here, then we should really, rather than taking them away from the church for the week, we should have them spend the week here and then come up with events and activities that just maximize engagement and interaction and just try and help them build relationship with a greater part of the body. And so I think right about that time too is when Mark Francis came on staff as the event coordinator and put together a planning team. And they've just been phenomenal every year. So we've done it now 6 times every other year of just, you know, the events and the plans, the creativity, the things that they come up with to maximize engagement with the body. And the events are, you know, are geared to have interaction with whole families, not just the adults of the church.
Right. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's you know what we do throughout the week is really for that purpose, just to really try and help the global partners build as much relationship with the greater part of the body as possible.
Yeah. And I feel like this time, I mean, you could so see the fruit of that. I think my favorite is that first Sunday morning everyone's in town, because it's just like this massive family reunion. Everyone's so excited to see everybody. Everybody's hugging in the lobby, and it's just really, really special. And yeah, it's just an incredible time. And so, Ray, what were you able to participate then in these activities throughout Global Church Week?
I don't recall exactly what. We, in fact, I had to go out of town one day. It was a thunder run down to North Carolina and back with I have a son that's down there, and we had already had plans. So other than that, I did the ferrying back and forth, and so we came, and sometimes I participated in the whatever the session was. Sometimes I sat over and had conversations with people where we discussed the missions and program of the church, and kind of got to know each other, because I was an unknown quantity. As we've talked a little bit about the kerfuffle that we cause, is like, who are these people who signed up to sing? We've never heard of. And so, you know, so there was an element of that, of getting to know a number of people in the church. So I participated in most of the activities. I was here anyway.
Yep. Yeah. I remember. I think I saw you just about everything. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. I mean, because we started with family night, where that's really, I think, one of the most well-attended events, because it's for all ages. It's just like booths around. Everybody can talk and engage. There's snacks. There's traditional outfits.
And the week prior, there was discussion on the email. It's like, we're thinking about starting that an hour early, so because everybody's it's going to be Old Home Week, and everybody wants to talk, and so our show time was actually an hour prior to the actual event, so that everybody could reacquaint themselves.
And that was a great idea, because it was really needed.
Yeah, for sure. And then just infusing into body life, like we talked about, women in the Word, the seniors ministry, student ministry, just Keystone, all of it. And then concluding with the conference, where the Global Church Partners had the opportunity to share. And so just about ministry updates and all that, which was really good. But then after that ended, Scott, you guys, the Global Church Partners didn't leave. You guys still took them away. So talk about that time.
Yeah. So like I said, this was the 6th time we've, haven't gone to Massachusetts Springs and just had the whole conference here. And so we would during the week, in the mornings, we would have a time of study. But some of the old timers, that we've been working with for, a couple decades, voiced, especially last time, 2023, that they really missed that time of getting away and the retreat atmosphere. And so, the last couple times we've had it, we have, we've taken them to Sight and Sound. We took them out to the Ark. We have, tried to do just, I don't know, give them time of refreshment and time of doing something fun together. And so then, because there were so many that said that they missed that kind of that retreat atmosphere, we decided to try and plan that for this time. And so we went to Priestfield Retreat Center up in Kearneysville, West Virginia. And yeah, it was like it used to be. It was just a time, 3 days together. We did some study and we went through some lessons. But we also spent a lot of our time with them sharing in-depth updates about their ministries, about their works. And the freedom that everybody had to just really share their hearts and struggles that, that maybe they're having, in marriages and ministry. It was just awesome. It was just a real open, transparent time of interacting. And you could tell that they had really missed a time. And, we've already lined up the retreat center for 2027. Just planning to do that again because it was such a hit, and you could really see the value of it.
Gotcha. That's so good and so important. And so one of my next questions for you guys then is, what are stories, or what was something maybe one of our global church partners shared during the week, whether it was at Priestfield or at the conference, that has really stuck with you? And I'll share what comes to mind first. But one of our partners, a man and his wife, they live in a close country, so I'm not going to say where, but she was sharing at Women in the Word how emotional she gets when she comes into worship, because where they live, they can't sing because they can't all gather together. And even though she doesn't even speak English really well, and she was just saying, knowing that the words that as a corporate body we were singing were praising the Lord, it just is such a balm and soothes her. And it just makes me a little bit emotional to think, wow, what a gift that we can do that. Every week we can come and sing together. And that's something she only gets every 2 years, just to hear, and not even in her own language. But again, the magnitude of God to know that he is being praised and she is a part of it, even though she doesn't understand the language.
And see, that's the kind of testimony, we need to hear as a church, just because it's so easy to take for granted. It's so easy to come on a Sunday morning and not even care to sing, and just, or to not even, what are the stats? Every family, the average that a family attends church per month is once or twice a month. Like, to not even value the freedom and the ability we have to do that. Those are the kinds of, that's hearing those testimonies, is God using them to minister to us.
Yep. 1,000%. So, yeah, just, and knowing again, like you talked about how isolating a lot of them is, where they're teaching grace and even if there are believers in their area, it's very works-based, and how isolating that is. And so to watch that and to watch them just depend on the Lord in a way that, in my life, I'm just amazed at their relationship and their trust in the Lord, because they know him in a way that I don't know him, and just how encouraging that is. So I don't know, Ray, was there something that throughout the week that stood out to you?
Well, I appreciate what you've said, because there's there was a shift in my thinking on that when for the persecuted church to have because I've visited that area and to have people in the church want you to pray for them, not for relief from persecution, but to be faithful through it. You know, you can get rid of the persecution very easily. Just deny Christ. It's simple. And so just understanding that there's an element of God's protection, right? God's grace. I was reading in a devotion this morning. It was Francis Xavier talking about he was writing to his senior in Indonesia, and he was like, the most critical thing is to not lose my trust in God's mercy. If I distrust God's mercy,
wow,
then all of these other things can come against me. And it's hand in glove with what you talk about with the church's focus on grace, the finished work of Christ. But there's also that element of mercy, and to know that I know God can deliver me, but even if He doesn't, I'll still praise Him. I'll still keep doing what I do. And so, it's very important. God calls the church for whatever reason to be His hands and feet and to spread the gospel into the hard places. And the hard to reach places are hard to reach because they're hard to reach.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. And so we don't ignore hard to reach because it's hard. We're called to bring God's gospel and His presence into those areas. So,
yeah. Scott, as you're reflecting back, what's coming to your mind?
Yeah, I think for me, it was, I felt like I heard over and over and over from different ones, their appreciation for just the love that they felt from our body. And so, like I said earlier, in 2015, we switched our structure. And so this is the sixth time of having this time just here at FBC. I think that's the fruit of that, just that there really has been deeper relationships that have been built with a greater body, and they're feeling it. And, when you think about them and some of their ministry contexts, and I mean, Jim and I have been to most of them, we've been in their homes, we've been in their churches, we've, seen their ministry contexts, and they're, I don't think there's anybody that just pours out the love of God upon them the way that this body does when they come here. And it really impacts them. They really appreciate it. I think it's like an oasis in the desert. It's refreshing, and we're just really thankful for this body and the heart that God has given this body for our global partners and our involvement as a body in global missions.
Right. Yeah. Because it makes me think of when Paul's writing in, I think it's 1 Corinthians, where he talks about one body but many members. And we get to see that because not all of us are called to go. We aren't called to be in those hard places, but they are. But we're called to support them. We're called to love them, like what you were talking about at the beginning of the conversation. Like, we're not just saved for ourselves, And so, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just, again, taking that big view and seeing how big God is, because we've talked many times about the connections that we have with all these different partners is only a story God could write. Like they're all just incredible, amazing stories of God just bringing this fellowship in with these partners. And it's just unbelievably incredible. Yeah. So my final question as we wrap up this episode is, we've already talked a little bit about some of the prayer requests specifically for the persecuted church. And again, not necessarily for the persecution to end, but for their steadfastness. I think last month we had Joshua Yakubu give a video just asking for prayer. And I think one of the things he said was that we would stand firm as they face the persecution in Nigeria. And so I didn't know if there's anything else that God has just been laying on your guys' heart recently. Ray, I'll come your way first, just in terms of praying for our global church partners.
Yeah. I have for many years felt like a fish out of water with it's not a burden. It's not, but the concern for the unreached, the concern for I think Keith Green's ministry in the 80s was his music, which is a call to the church. It's a challenge to the church to be what it's called to be, and trying to convey that to that concern to other people is difficult. And there's part of it, I think, is learning a vocabulary that you can discuss, and part of it is really stepping back and extending grace to other people. And one of the things that has solidified in my mind is that we as a church, we have a mission, and we're moving forward in a particular mission. And then the spokes from the hub is these people do missions. It's like, very good, you did missions. This is the local outreach, and here are people that minister to people in the home when they're sick, and here's a youth ministry and all that sort of thing, the spokes. But often you need something to tie all those spokes together. It's like, even though that's your mission, or that's what you're called, feel like you're called to do, and that's what you do, I still understand that we do this, and I pray for that. And so it's not just the prison ministry, but the people are aware, the rest of the church is aware of, and that's part of what the whole church's mission is, and this particular body is called to achieve certain things by God. And so I often think in terms of tying the spokes together, and whether that's a particular calling in your life, and missions is very, very much part of what my heart is. The heart that God has, the thing that God has laid on my heart is understanding that other people don't have that. But I understand the things that they're doing, and I appreciate the fact that that's part of the mission of this body. And so understanding and praying for each other and praying for the different ministries is important. I think you were asking about specific prayer needs, but it's one thing that my wife mentioned was just understanding where we know there's danger. There's lots of Christians being killed, villages being burned, and people murdered in mass, and to hear that their pastors want to stay there. They don't want to go someplace that's safer. They want to be there, and in face of that, because it's not about their personal safety. It's about the message, having the message in the church and the support where the people are. So I don't know that there's any concluding thought with that, but that's
yeah. Scott, what about you?
I think for us, it's just what we're trying to do in global missions is work ourselves out of a job everywhere we're partnering, and so part of our focus yesterday in meeting with Joshua and laying out our plans for 2026 is just, okay, we've started this work with the EMS fields by targeting the EMS field coordinators.
Right.
And so this next round of trips is for the purpose of just continuing to equip them as the leaders, lack of a better term, just kind of the key leader of each field.
Yeah.
And then helping them strategize for implementing, and establishing the church strategy on each of their fields, because they're each different.
Right.
Some have many churches and some only have one church. And so each of them are a little different. But we're going to be, we've kind of, out of the 15 field coordinators, we've identified 5 that we're kind of forming a key leadership team that Jim and I will be traveling with to all of the fields to help each field equip their key leadership team for the purpose of establishing, equipping the pastors and the church leaders on their fields so that churches can become established in the faith and equipped and matured and no longer need missionaries, that they can do the work of the ministry and reach the unreached, and which, is just a huge, I've been on both sides of the coin, when it comes to missions. I've been an expat missionary in a parachurch organization, and now, involved with our global missions program, where we're focusing specifically on the church and establishing the church in each local context. And I just, what we're doing now in our global missions program, just the potential for impact is, I just, don't get me wrong, there's a place for expat missionaries, but when you can have a mature functioning church in a local context, they're not going anywhere. The missionaries come and go, all the time. And it doesn't take a whole lot to cause a missionary to have to leave a ministry context. But when you have a mature functioning church, you've got pastors like you were just talking about that it doesn't matter what circumstances there are. He doesn't want to leave the church. He wants to remain there. People get sick. They don't leave. It's their home. It's their, it's their home context. They get cancer. They don't leave. Their kids struggle. They're there. They remain a part of the church. And that's what, that's what each of these areas need, is mature functioning churches. And so that's our heart's cry. That's our goal. That's our main prayer request, I would say.
Yeah. No, that's so important. And then this month, we are actually highlighting Joshua and Melissa Yakubu in Nigeria. So could you just share briefly about specific ways that we can be praying for them, because they are in one of those countries where it is not safe?
Yeah. So there's that aspect of just the persecution that there is in Nigeria, and that's just ongoing. And like Joshua shared in his testimony, I mean, I can't add to anything that he shared. He said he doesn't think it's going to go away, but that God is using it, to strengthen the church, to establish the church. I just praise God that we get the opportunity to, be involved with so many of their regional leaders in ECWA and their pastors. And I think through our grace-based, finished work of Christ-centered teaching, really helping to give them a greater eternal perspective than maybe what they had. And I mean, that's, I think, a lot of the message of First Peter, what Peter is doing he's writing to people who were being persecuted for their faith. And he's just really working to give them an eternal perspective. But for them personally, Melissa needs back surgery, and it's expensive. It's been difficult for them to find a place in Nigeria where they can be confident in having it done. In their area in Jos, originally she was told it's a 50-50 chance of whether it'll be successful or not. So when Joshua was here for Global Church Week, he brought along some of her images, and I passed them on to somebody in the church who's a radiologist, and he looked at them and he was shocked that she would be told it was just a 50-50 chance of success rate. Here, he said she'd be told it's 95% or higher, you know. So I suggested to Joshua that, well, what if you go to a bigger city like Abuja and find a place? So they did that, and they found a guy who they said is renowned for brain surgery and spine surgery, and they were scheduled to have the surgery on December 11th. 2 days before, they had some questions for him about the procedure and all that kind of stuff. He seemed to get offended by their questions and feel like they weren't trusting him. And so, which then made Melissa and Joshua, you know, rightly so, feel uncomfortable with going through with it.
Right.
So they, you know, the doctor was saying he had to do it on the 11th. Soon after that, he'll be leaving to be with family for the holidays, and so won't be able to do it until after the new year. So right now they're they're on hold, undecided whether they're going to go through with it with him or not. He was telling us yesterday, somebody brought up the idea of possibly having it done in Korea. There's the past president of ECWA has a son that is in South Korea. And so it sounds like he's talking with some connections about what the possibility of her having it done over there and what it would cost and all that kind of thing. So that's, you know, something that they're really praying about and hopeful that that would be an option. I think they feel a lot more confident if they could have it done there than doing it especially with this guy in Nigeria.
Sure.
So that's a major. It's debilitating. You know, right now the pain in her back is debilitating. She's right now on a course of just trying to lose some weight and doing some walking. But yeah, she really needs to have the surgery done. So
yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. So we can be praying for her in that. So. And thank you guys so much for being a part of today's episode. If you want to learn more about our global church partners, you can always check out the Mission Stairwell in the North Main entrance. And like I said before, we're highlighting Joshua and Melissa Yakubu. And so there are written prayer requests there, info sheets about their ministry and kids' activities as well. For all of our listeners and viewers, remember that we always love to hear from you. So you can send us your thoughts, questions, and requests at fbcva.org/podcast and write us there. Thank you for watching and listening. And remember that it is Christ who is continually building his church until we all attain to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God.